This is Colonel Denny Gillum. It's 21 minutes after the hour, and you are in formation and listening to the front lines of freedom all across America. New subject. Alan West is a combat veteran of our current war and a candidate for Congress in Florida. He's a man with both the experience and the ideas that we need in Washington. Glad to have him here. Welcome to Front Lines of Freedom, Alan.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Denny. It really is an honor, and greetings to you and everyone up there in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Hey, tell us about your background, Alan. Why did you decide to join the Army?
Well, you know, I was born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia, and I've been wearing a uniform for pretty much most of my life. I was in high school, ROTC, there in Grady High School in Atlanta, then went to the University of Tennessee and got my commission there. And the bottom line is that I had a father who served in World War II. I had a mother who was a civilian employee for the 6th Marine Corps District Headquarters in Atlanta. I had an older brother who served in Vietnam as a Marine. So military service was just a tradition in our family. And we got a fourth generation, my young nephew, who is now a captain in the United States Army, following along in my footsteps as an artilleryman and also a young paratrooper.
Hoo-ah! I love it. You know, Fort Gillum is located in Alabama, in Atlanta, and is named after one of my distant relatives.
Wow, that's incredible. I've been at the commissary of Fort Gillum a few times.
Hey, say hello for me the next time you're there.
Absolutely.
What were some of your key assignments while you were on active duty? Because I suspect you served, 22 or so years? Yeah,
22 years. I started out with the 325th Airborne Battalion over in Vicenza, Italy. 1st Infantry Division, Desert Shield, Desert Storm. I taught ROTC at Kansas State University. 2nd Infantry Division, the Fort Bragg with 18th Field Artillery Brigade Airborne. After Camp Lejeune, where I had that distinct honor of being with the United States Marine Corps on a joint assignment, I finished up my 22-year career at Fort Hood, Texas. I was a battalion commander in the 4th Infantry Division, which included a combat tour over in Iraq in 2003, and I wrapped it up as being the 3 Corps Chief of Current Operations.
Sounds like a great career. 22 years, that's how long mine was, too. What are you doing now?
Well, right now I still work for the Department of the Army as a civilian contractor. When I first retired down here in 2004, I taught high school for a year, and then I went back to Afghanistan as a civilian military advisor to the Afghan Army down in Kandahar. Of course, now I'm also running for Congress in Congressional District 22 down here in Florida.
Where is that district? What part of Florida?
Sure. This district is pretty much a coastline district that goes from Fort Lauderdale Airport up along the coastline just north of West Palm Beach to what is called Jupiter Inlet. And it does come west in 3 different locations. So it's pretty a weird drawn district, but it was held by a Congressman, E. Clay Shaw, Republican congressman, for 26 years. So this is a great district that we can win back.
Awesome. We got to do that, too. We need some conservatives doing that. I'm particularly interested in your stance on health care, specifically for our military and veterans. Will you talk to us about your position there?
Yeah, I think one of the things that you're seeing right now, you've got broken promises when it comes to our health care. With the TRICARE system, which this new health care legislation will affect. Down here it's very hard to get doctors to accept the TRICARE, which is the same as they're starting to see with doctors turning back some of the Medicare and also Medicaid. So, one of the critical things we got to do, the government already has 4 medical type of programs, meaning Medicare, Medicaid, the S-CHIP program, and also the Veterans Administration. And they've got to get those programs run a lot more effectively and efficiently, especially as for our veterans, which is not doing very well, and the families of our veterans. So to say we're going to create 110 more government agencies, which means that you're either going to print more money, borrow more money, or raise taxes to make that happen. We're not focusing on what the real, true systemic problems are, which is how do we lower the cost of health care. And that's why we talk about the tort reform. We talk about Americans being able to shop, across state boundaries instead of these state-by-state monopolies that have been set up. So those are some of the simple things, health savings accounts, which will allow Americans to take care of their routine medical procedures. And we've got to get it to the point where, we have guaranteed renewable insurance for Americans, so we get rid of this pre-existing conditions and Americans can have portability. And when it comes to the military, first and foremost, for those of us that have served and are serving and will serve, we got to make sure that we do what is right by our veterans and those serving in the military, that they have the best possible medical coverage they can have.
Absolutely, and that is not to say that we don't need to take care of the civilians.
No, it's not. But I think that one of the things we have to do is for our military personnel who have done such given such a sacrifice. And one of the things you see on this modern battlefield is with the medical procedures and systems being so well in combat, a lot of people who would have life-ending injuries are continuing on. Their lives are continuing on. And so that's putting an additional stress on the medical system. So we need to make sure that we take care of those young men and women that are coming back double and triple or, amputees.
Absolutely. Since they hired us to go forth when we come back with need, our country needs to be there for us.
Yeah,
and there's no two ways about that.
Yeah, we served in good faith, and there's a covenant that the government is supposed to have to those who took the oath to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And some of them have given that ultimate sacrifice. Some of them have been severely hurt. And, this also includes the traumatic brain injuries that we're having and the PTSD issues that we're seeing. We got to make sure we do what's right by our young men and women.
Could not agree more. Alan, you're talking about going to Washington. Do you have 2 or 3 other goals beyond this that you really would have at the top of your list for what you would like to see done in Washington that would be at the top of your to-do list?
Well, I think one of the most important things, Danny, we've got to transfer the wealth that's been stored in Washington, D.C. That's the wealth of the American people. We got to get back down to them so that investment, ingenuity, innovation, and economic growth can continue on. One of the things that is a pet peeve of mine, I am tired of seeing, strap hanger bills put onto defense appropriation legislation that needs to stand alone, and we should not have political games. I think I would like to get on the House Armed Services Committee so that I can examine the rules of engagement and some of the means by which we are treating our men and women, our warriors in combat. We see the incident with the Navy SEALs. We have a young Army First Lieutenant Michael Bahena, who was serving 15 years in Fort Leavenworth for shooting a known al-Qaeda operative. Those are the type of things that have to be corrected, and it will only be corrected if we have men and women who have served on this 21st century battlefield. But like I said, the most important thing is fiscal security and physical security. We've got to protect the American people's wallet so that they can have prosperity.